Apple Watch, we have 5.92. I'll show you a screenshot, but the Garmin was reading 6.23, I believe it was. And I know the Apple Watch was more accurate. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Dog Walker Dave here. Today on the channel, I will be reviewing the Apple Watch Series 7 from the perspective of a long-time runner. And I mean long, because this guy is getting up there in age. So as a runner, what am I going to cover? Well, I'm going to do a little bit of a comparison to my Garmin Fenix 6. So for my review of the Apple Watch 7 as a runner, I'm going to go over several things. Number 1, the battery life. Number 2, the screen. Number 3, the buttons, or lack of buttons. Number 4, the metrics and the fitness app. Number 5, heart rate accuracy. Number 6, and this is the big one that gets the internet all in a tizzy, GPS recording. And number 7, any intangibles. So let's dive into it. Before we do that, Apple did not provide me with this watch. Tim Cook did not send it to me. I had to pay for it with my own money. Such is the life of a small YouTuber, where I don't get things sent to me for free. That's okay. That means I'm going to give an unbiased opinion of the Apple Watch Series 7. And while we're at it, if you find this video educational, entertaining, useful in any way, hit that subscribe button, as it really helps out the channel. Number 1, the battery. Now, before I get into this is my 4th Apple Watch. I had the 3, the 4, the 5, and now the 7. If you own an Apple Watch as a runner, what you cannot do, in my opinion, is to compare it against a Garmin Fenix or Forerunner, a Coros, a Polar, a Suunto, or any of the dedicated GPS running watches. Because the Apple Watch is more of a smartwatch with a lot of excellent features built into it. So the battery life is not spectacular. However, in my testing of not only the 7, but the 3, 4, and the 5, I could easily go out for a 5-hour or so run and still have half the battery percentage left at the end of it. So for a watch that does everything the Apple Watch does, all the notifications, the brilliant display, I think it does a pretty darn good job. Apple claims it's all-day battery life. It is, in my testing over many different generations. But just like with having your smartphone, I basically charge it every night, and I don't wear it to bed. I don't like wearing a watch to bed. So that's the battery life. It's good. It's not fantastic, but for a smartwatch, it's good. Number 2, the screen. Now, Apple claims that the glass used on this screen is 50% thicker. It's still the same Ion X glass display on the basic Apple Watch. This is not the stainless steel version with the sapphire crystal. It might be more crack resistant, but I can tell you right now, after having it for a few weeks, it is not scratch resistant because I have minor little scratch on it already. But I'm not the easiest person on watches. I bang them against everything. But the screen itself is beautiful. I have the 45mm version, and it is so bright and vibrant. It puts every other GPS watch to shame. My Coros, my Garmin Fenix 3 and 6, Polar that I've had, Suunto Ambit. The screen on the Apple Watch is fantastic. Number 3, the buttons. Digital crown, whatever you want to call it. It is the digital crown. It's a touchscreen display. For some runners, myself included, I'm not a huge fan of a touchscreen display when I'm running. I find it very frustrating to swipe across, to pause a workout, etc., even end a workout. I prefer to have buttons, a whole bunch of buttons, like my Garmin Fenix that has 5 buttons. Makes it easier to navigate when you have gloves on or even mittens if it's really cool. But I know that about the Apple Watch. The touchscreen itself is very responsive, And the digital crown works fine. It's not fantastic, but it works fine. For most people who run, it will do the trick. Not necessarily any difficulties with not having a bunch of buttons. Point number 4, the running metrics and the fitness app. Overall, it's not the greatest. A lot of other GPS manufacturers, the Coros I had, the Garmin, the Polar, and the Suunto have, in my opinion, a better workout app as far as looking at it on your phone. And for the Apple Watch, you don't have a web interface like you do with the Garmin or the Polar, for that matter, Polar Flow and the Garmin Connect app. I prefer to have a web interface because I'm old and my eyes are terrible. I like to be able to see it on a big screen. So if I could have even the Apple Watch metrics with distance and the map and everything on a larger display, I would prefer it. Has the basics, pace, average heart rate, shows a little bit of a heart rate graph, but it's not great. But for basic use, it does the trick. But if you want to really nerd out on your running metrics, this is not the device to do it on. Point number 5, heart rate accuracy. In my testing of all 4 different Apple Watches I've owned, I find for optical heart rate, it's to be very good. And I believe the Series 7 is almost on par with the chest strap. It's not quite there. It's hard to beat a chest strap like the Polar H10 or any of the other, the Wahoo or the Garmin chest straps. But for optical heart rate, I think this does a fantastic job. I've been running long enough that I basically know roughly where my heart rate is. And as long as you have the strap down nice and tight to begin, I find the heart rate reading on it to be very good. I've tested it against my Garmin, and the Garmin, the readings were off. Now, partly that was because I don't think I had it tight enough on my wrist. I was wearing 2 watches at once, and the Garmin wasn't tight enough. My one run was off by quite a bit on the Garmin compared to the Apple Watch, but I tested it a few other times with one on each wrist, and they were comparable. I would say I would give the nod to the Apple Watch. The algorithm that they use is quite accurate. And I know 2 of the YouTubers that I watch, DC Rainmaker and the Quantified Scientists, they have done testing on the Apple Watch and compared to the Polar H10, and they both agree that the heart rate accuracy on it is very good. Next up, number 6, GPS accuracy. Well, as I mentioned in my other watch review videos of the Coros Apex and my Garmin Phoenix review, there is nothing on the internet that receives more attention than GPS accuracy as far as endurance athletes go. In my testing, the Apple Watch is good. No, it is not military grade GPS tracking where you're going to have exceptional results. We're looking at a device that is $570 here in Canada. Even if you have a $1,000 Garmin device or the Coros Apex Pro or the Coros Vertex 2 or any device like that, you're not going to get perfect results. For a device that does all these other things, the Apple Watch GPS reading is actually pretty good. I have a run that I do that I start from my home, and I've tested it over hundreds of times where I know exactly to a few steps, I guess, where the 1 kilometer marker is, and this thing basically hits it within a few steps. It's not perfect, no device is. It's good enough for 99% of us. Just don't buy it for GPS only. You're getting a smartwatch with notifications, you can text from it, you can receive phone calls on it. We can't expect miracles. Might be coming in the future where we have extremely good GPS accuracy, but right now, it's good. The last thing I want to mention, point number 6, is the intangibles. And in the intangibles, I'm only going to mention one thing. Back in February of this year, I had my Apple Watch Series 5. I was approximately 100 meters from my home, running in the winter. I was going to run to work. I came across black ice, obviously didn't see it. I wiped out, went straight back, wrenched my back, and I fell hard. As soon as I fell, the fall detection signal alerted me. Are you okay? Do we need to call emergency services? That right there, you cannot put a price on something like that. Yes, you have to have your phone with you unless you have the cellular version. But that right there, that is worth it for anybody out there doing any type of running away from a lot of people. Luckily, my neighbor is a police officer. She saw me fall just down the street actually, and she asked if I was okay. I said, yeah, kind of. I get up. My back was messed for a while, but the fall detection on this thing worked perfectly. And I don't think you can really replicate it by taking fall. I know some YouTubers, when Apple Watch fall detection was first announced a couple of years back, they tried to mimic it and they couldn't get it to work. But I legit wiped out big time. The fall detection, worth every penny. So what are my overall thoughts on the Apple Watch? This is my fourth one. This by far is the best, and I know they say that about every new Apple device, every new phone. It's the best that we've made. This truly is the best. The 45mm version, the screen is nice and big for someone with bad eyes like myself. Where am I going to use this? I'm going to use this as my watch I wear around all day. I'll use it in and around the city when I'm doing my runs, anything shorter runs or even longer runs in the city when I'm training for ultra marathon. But when I do go to the mountains, going through rough terrain, through woods and everything like that, I'm not going to be wearing my Apple Watch because it's too delicate for those conditions, in my opinion. Thanks for following along, everyone. Let me know in the comments below if you have the Apple Watch 7 or if you've had any other previous Apple Watches. And if you're a runner, what do you think of it overall? Is it a good investment? Would you recommend it to other viewers? Thanks again, everyone, for taking the time to watch. Appreciate the support. Consider hitting that subscribe button as it really helps out the channel. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.